The first time I knew my best friend's wife might ruin my wedding was over a shared Costco sheet cake when she leaned close and whispered something so sexual and so loud that the whole table went silent, and I just sat there smiling like nothing happened while something in me cracked. My name is Lorelai. I am 33, and I work as a project coordinator for a hospital network in Ohio. I have been with my fiancé, Griffin, for 6 years, and we were finally planning the kind of winter wedding that feels like warm light in a dark season. Candlelit room, hot cider bar, a small band that plays old soul songs, the kind of night where you can breathe and actually look at people you love instead of sprinting through it like a marathon. And the person I loved most, besides Griffin, was my best friend, Greer. Greer and I met in college when she sat next to me in an 8 a.m. lecture and handed me half her breakfast sandwich like it was nothing. That was her. Quiet kindness, no scoreboard. She was the first friend who made me feel like I did not have to perform to be worthy of staying in someone's life. Now she was married to a woman named Ophelia. Ophelia was older than us by enough years that it always felt like she was playing in a different decade. Her style was loud. Her opinions were louder. She dressed like every day was a music video. Even when we were just going to a kid's soccer game, she could be funny for exactly 3 minutes, and then she would lock onto a topic and drill it into the ground until everyone around her looked for an exit. The first time I met her, she told me she did not believe birds were real. She said it like she was confiding a secret that made her superior. Then she stared at my chest for a beat too long and asked if I had ever been curious, right there in a crowded brewery. Greer laughed like it was a joke, like Ophelia was being quirky. I tried to laugh too, because I love Greer, because I did not want to be the friend who judges the partner, because I grew up in a family where you swallow discomfort and call it manners. But then there were more moments. Too many. Ophelia showed up to Greer's birthday dinner wearing a white lace dress that looked like it had been cut down from a curtain, and she announced to the waiter's face that she could tell he needed to be dominated. I watched the poor guy blink, nod, and walk away like he had just stepped on a landmine. At a backyard cookout, she cornered Griffin near the grill and asked if he had ever thought about sharing. Griffin, sweet and polite, tried to laugh it off. Ophelia leaned closer and said very calmly, "I can tell when someone is lying." Griffin came to me later and asked gently, "Is she always like that?" It was not only the inappropriate comments, it was the way she ignored basic boundaries like they were optional. She would open cabinets in other people's homes, take what she wanted, and then act offended if anyone looked surprised. She would talk over everyone, correct everyone, challenge everyone, like every conversation was a fight she needed to win. And the worst part was what Greer did in response. She managed Ophelia, constantly, quietly, like a parent guiding a toddler away from a hot stove. Greer would touch Ophelia's arm and say, "Hey babe, let's go get some air." And Ophelia would roll her eyes and go, but not before making sure everyone knew Greer was being controlling. Greer would apologize with her eyes. Then she would keep smiling and keep moving, because that was her job now. The wedding planning should have been a happy distraction. Instead, I found myself doing math in my head. Seating charts, alcohol service, my boss from the hospital, Griffin's uncle who talks too loudly about politics, my cousin who just got sober, and then Ophelia, loose in the room like a spark near gasoline. The moment that pushed me over the edge happened at my bridal shower. It was a simple thing. My aunt hosted it at her house. A few friends, some family, finger sandwiches, the whole harmless scene. I remember holding a paper plate with little cucumber triangles and feeling, for once, like I could relax. Greer arrived with Ophelia and the kids. The kids ran inside, shoes flying off, laughing. Greer hugged me tight and whispered, "You look so happy." And for a second, I almost cried. Then Ophelia walked in behind her, scanned the room and said, "This is adorable." Very suburban. She said it like an insult. I tried to keep my smile. I offered her a drink. She said she did not trust anything that came from a pitcher, because you never know who touched it. 5 minutes later, I saw her in the kitchen opening my aunt's fridge like she lived there. My aunt, bless her, did not say anything. She just watched, confused. Ophelia pulled out a container of leftover pasta, sniffed it, wrinkled her nose, and said, "No offense, but this smells like sadness." I felt heat rise in my face. I opened my mouth to say something, then I saw Greer watching me from the doorway, eyes pleading, and I swallowed it. Then we sat down to open gifts. This is where the Costco cake comes in. My aunt brought it out like it was a centerpiece. Bright icing, big cheerful letters, people clapped. Someone took pictures. It was corny and sweet, and I loved it. Ophelia leaned over to me while everyone was smiling and said, loud enough that the women beside us turned their heads, "You know, weddings are basically a public claim on a person. It's kinda hot, like ownership." I froze. I stared straight ahead like I did not hear her. She kept going, voice low but not low enough. "If you ever get bored, I know how to make it exciting. I could teach you things." I felt my throat close. Shame hit first, then anger, then something colder. I looked at Griffin's sister across the room and saw her expression. The quick discomfort, the way she looked away. I saw my aunt's smile falter for half a second, like she sensed the air change. And still, I stayed quiet, because I did not want a scene at my bridal shower, because I did not want to embarrass Greer, because I was trying to be the bigger person. Ophelia sat back like she had done nothing. She picked up a fork and took a bite of cake. Then she said loudly, "This frosting tastes like plastic." Greer's face went tight. She whispered something to Ophelia. Ophelia shrugged and said, "What? I'm allowed to have an opinion." That night, after everyone left, Griffin and I stood in our kitchen with the leftover gifts piled on the counter and the scent of sugar still in the air. I told him what Ophelia said to me, and I watched his jaw clench in a way I rarely saw. He said, "You don't have to invite her." I stared at the sink and felt tears burn behind my eyes, because it was not that simple. Greer was not just a guest. She was family to me and everything but blood. If I excluded Ophelia, I knew I might lose Greer, and some part of me still hoped there was a way to do it without detonating everything. But another part of me, the part that had been collecting tiny moments like stones in a pocket, already knew the truth. Ophelia was not going to change for one night, and Greer was not going to choose anyone over her. I tried to handle it like an adult. I asked Greer to meet me for coffee. Just us, no kids, no Ophelia. I kept my tone light. I said I missed her. I said I wanted to talk about wedding stuff. Greer texted back, "Sure, Ophelia and I can come Saturday." I wrote, "Just you and me if that's okay." 3 dots appeared. Then nothing. Then finally, "Why?" My fingers hovered over the screen. My heart pounded like I had done something wrong. I typed, "Because it's kind of hard to talk when Ophelia is there." Greer replied, "She's my wife, Lorelai." I stared at that sentence for a long time. The kitchen was quiet. Griffin was in the living room, giving me space, but I could feel him listening anyway, like he could sense the shape of the storm. I wrote back, "I know, I just need a private conversation." Greer did not respond for hours. When she finally did, she wrote, "If it's about her, I don't want to do this." My stomach dropped, because in that moment, I realized Greer already knew. She just wanted to keep pretending we could could all keep smiling through it. I set my phone down. I took a breath. I felt fear, not of Ophelia, but of what I was about to lose. And then my phone buzzed again. It was a message from an unknown number, just a single line. I heard you're trying to talk to Greer alone. That's interesting. Quick real life pause, because this is the part where my hands actually started shaking. When I'm editing these late at night, I get tired, and your comments are what keep me going. Like, subscribe and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, now let me take you back. My throat went dry as I stared at that message from the unknown number. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips, like my body was trying to warn me before my brain caught up. I typed, "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. You know, that made my stomach roll. I did know. Ophelia never used social media like a normal person, but she collected burner numbers the way other people collected coupons. She once told me with a proud little smile that she liked having options in case someone blocked her. At the time, I laughed in that nervous way you laugh when you want to pretend something is a joke. Now it was not a joke. I looked over at Griffin. He was leaning against the doorway, arms folded, watching my face. He mouthed, "What?" I turned my phone toward him, his eyebrows lifted. Then his expression hardened into something calm and protective. He said, "Don't answer her." Screenshotted. I did. That was the first quiet move I made. Not a dramatic one, not a loud one. Just proof saved in my camera roll, time and date stamped like a receipt. I typed nothing. I set the phone down. I tried to breathe normally. It buzzed again. Greer doesn't keep secrets from me. Buzz. You think you're slick. Buzz. If you don't want me there, just say it. Don't isolate my wife. Each message felt like a finger pressing harder and harder into a bruise. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to explain. I wanted to scream that I was not isolating anyone. I was trying to have one conversation with my best friend without being sexually baited or socially terrorized. But Griffin's voice stayed steady. Don't feed it. Let her spiral on her own. So I stayed quiet. Inside, I was not quiet. Inside, I was furious. I felt humiliated that she could reach into my life whenever she wanted. I felt ashamed that I was scared of a text message. I felt grief too, because every buzzing notification was another reminder that my friendship with Greer had been replaced by a system, and Ophelia was the security gate. The next day at work, I tried to focus. Emails, meetings, a spreadsheet that refused to reconcile. But my mind kept snapping back to that unknown number, and the way Ophelia's words made my skin feel too tight. At lunch, I checked my phone and saw a text from Greer. "Are you okay?" For a split second, relief washed over me. My best friend was checking on me. Maybe she had a moment of clarity. Maybe she saw what was happening. Then I saw the next line. "Ophelia said you were acting weird." Relief disappeared so fast it almost made me dizzy. I wrote, "I'm okay. Can we talk just us, even on the phone?" Greer replied, "If this is about the wedding, you can just tell me." I stared at that. My eyes stung, because I could feel the trap. If I answered, Ophelia would hear it. If I waited, Ophelia would push harder. There was no safe way to do it, so I chose the only thing I had left. Clarity. I wrote, "Yes, it's about the wedding. I need to talk to you privately. Please." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then Greer replied, "I can't. She's my wife. She's part of my life." I felt my chest tighten. Not because she said it, but because she said it like it was a rule of gravity. Like I was foolish for even asking. I wrote, "I understand. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking for one conversation." Greer replied, "Just say what you need to say." My hands were sweating. I could feel heat in my face. In my head, I could hear Ophelia's voice saying, "You think you're slick." I wanted to throw my phone across the break room. Instead, I did the second quiet move. I opened my notes app and wrote everything out there first, like a script. No insults, no diagnosis, no labels, just facts. Concrete moments. What she said to me at the bridal shower, the sexual comments to Griffin, the way she opened my aunt's fridge, the way she targeted servers, strangers, friends. Then I trimmed it down until it sounded like a person speaking, not a prosecutor. Then I copied it into a text to Greer. "Greer, I love you. I want you and the kids at the wedding. But Ophelia has repeatedly made sexual comments to me and to Griffin, and has made other guests uncomfortable in public settings. I am not willing to risk that at our wedding. This is not about her identity. It's about her behavior. I am inviting you and the kids." Ophelia is not invited. I stared at it for a long time before sending. My thumb hovered, shaking. When I hit send, my entire body went cold, like I had stepped into winter air. I watched the message deliver. Then I watched the little read indicator appear. No response. Minutes passed like hours. Then my phone rang. Greer's name flashed on the screen. My heart kicked hard. I answered, "Hi." There was silence on the other end. Then I heard breathing. Then faintly I heard another voice in the background, too close to the speaker, like someone leaning in. Greer finally said, "I can't believe you did this over text." Her voice sounded flat, not angry. The flatness scared me more. I swallowed. I tried to meet in person. I tried to call. "You wouldn't talk to me privately." Silence. Then Ophelia's voice came through, loud and bright like she was stepping onto a stage. "Say it to me, Lorelai, if you're so brave." My stomach dropped. My fingers tightened around the phone. Greer said quietly, "She's right here." Of course she was. I took a breath. I kept my voice calm even though my throat felt raw. "Ophelia, this isn't a debate. This is a boundary." Ophelia laughed. "A boundary? That's cute. You mean you're excluding an autistic person because you can't handle direct communication?" There it was, the script she always used, a shield that made her untouchable. I said, "No, I'm excluding you because you make sexual comments to people without consent, and you disrupt events by insulting hosts and cornering guests. That's the reason." Greer whispered, "Lorelai, please." That single word hit me like a slap. Please as in please back down. Please make it easy. Please keep doing what you always do and swallow it so I don't have to face my life. My eyes burned. I blinked hard. "Greer, I'm not doing this to hurt you." Ophelia said, "You are hurting her. You're trying to control her." I stayed calm. I felt myself detach, like my mind was stepping back from a ledge. "This is my wedding. I get to choose who attends. You are not invited." Ophelia's voice sharpened. "Fine, then Greer isn't going either." There was a pause. I waited, holding my breath, hoping I would hear Greer say, "That's not your decision." Instead, Greer said nothing. That was the third twist, and it was the one that hurt the most. Not Ophelia's threat, Greer's silence. I felt something inside me settle, heavy and final. I said softly, "Greer, I'm still inviting you. If you choose not to come, I'll understand. But I won't be bullied into changing this." Ophelia started talking fast, words tumbling into each other, accusing me of bigotry, accusing me of jealousy, accusing me of being fake nice. She was spiraling, and I could almost hear her enjoying it, like Chaos was her favorite song. I did not argue. I did the fourth quiet move. I ended the call. I sat there at my desk in the break room, phone in my lap, heart pounding, and I felt tears slide down my cheeks without permission. I wiped them quickly, embarrassed even though no one was looking. I felt grief like a physical ache because I knew what I had just done. I had chosen my peace over my longest friendship, and I knew Ophelia would not let it end there, because 2 hours later, my coworker Waverly messaged me on Slack. Hey, weird question. Did someone named Ophelia just email our department list asking about your wedding venue? I stared at the screen, stunned, as the reality of what she was willing to do finally landed. Stared at my screen for a long second, trying to understand how someone outside the building could even reach an internal list like that. My throat tightened, and then my mind did what it always does under stress. It started replaying every tiny moment I had brushed off. Had I ever forwarded something wedding-related from my work email? Had I ever sent Greer a venue address from my desk because it was convenient? Had I ever left my laptop open when she visited my office to bring me coffee? I could not remember the exact path, but I could see the destination clearly. Ophelia had found a way to step into my professional world, and she was stomping around in it like she owned the floor. I typed back to Waverly, yes, please do not reply. Can you forward it to me as an attachment? Waverly responded immediately. Already did. Also, our director is asking why a stranger is emailing us about a wedding. I felt heat rise behind my eyes, the kind of humiliation that makes your skin prickle. It was not just that Ophelia was bothering me, it was that she was using my workplace, my reputation, my steady adult life, as a stage for her tantrum. I stood up and walked straight to my director's office. My legs felt too light, like I was walking on the edge of panic, but I forced my voice to stay even when I knocked. When I explained it, I did not mention anyone's diagnoses. I did not call anyone names. I did not even say the word harassment at first. I kept it simple. A person connected to my personal life is contacting my coworkers about my private event. I did not authorize it. I am concerned she may escalate. My director stared at me for a beat, then said, send me everything you have, then send it to information security. That sentence was the first gift I got in days. Not pity, not awkwardness, just a clear professional response. Within an hour, information security had traced the email. It was not some genius hack. It was something smaller and uglier. Ophelia had replied all to an old scheduling chain that Greer had been copied on months ago. For a volunteer project we briefly shared, I remembered now. Greer had asked me to include her in a few updates so she could bring snacks. The chain had the department distribution list in it. Ophelia simply grabbed the thread from Greer's computer and hit reply all like she was tossing a grenade. So it was not an accident. It was a choice. Security blocked the sender. They also pushed a short warning to the department about not engaging with suspicious or personal emails. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt a new kind of dread because now Ophelia knew she could reach me where it hurt. That evening, I came home and found Griffin sitting at the kitchen table with a notebook open. He looked up and said, I made a list. I sat down slowly. Of what? Every vendor, every person who could be contacted, the venue, the florist, the caterer, the photographer, the hotel block, the babysitter, everyone. We're putting a password on everything. I stared at him, throat tight, because love can be as simple as someone quietly preparing for a battle you did not want. We picked a password that meant nothing to anyone else, something ordinary, something impossible to guess. Then we started calling. The venue manager did not even sound surprised. She said, you'd be amazed how often people try to change details they don't have authority over. I'll note the account. No changes without the password. The florist said, got it. We'll only speak to you directly. The caterer said, we'll add it to your file. Each call was a small brick laid in a wall. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady. Then Ophelia tried the next move. The next morning, my phone rang while I was in the parking garage at work. The caller ID showed my florist's number. I answered, and the florist said carefully, hi, I just got a call from someone claiming to be you. She wanted to change the delivery time and remove the centerpieces. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. Did she have the password? No, the florist said, and I could hear the sharpness in her tone now. She got angry when we asked. She said we were discriminating against her. Of course she did. I thanked her, hung up, and took a screenshot of the call log. Then I opened my messages and saw 3 missed calls from an unknown number. Ophelia again. I did not answer. I saved everything. By lunchtime, my photographer emailed me to confirm the password because someone had tried to change the shot list. My hotel coordinator sent a note that someone had attempted to cancel our room block. The venue manager texted that a woman had called demanding the address for the alternative entrance. It was a campaign. And the strangest part was how calm I felt once I recognized it for what it was. Ophelia did not want to solve anything. She wanted control. She wanted chaos. She wanted me to come running into the mess and beg her to stop. So I did the opposite. I documented. I organized. I stayed quiet. That night, I sent one email to Greer, short and clean. Someone using your access to old threads has emailed my workplace and is attempting to contact my wedding vendors. I have secured everything with passwords. I need this to stop. If it does not stop, I will file a formal report for harassment. I love you, but I will protect my home and my job. I stared at the screen after I hit send, heart pounding, because part of me still hoped she would finally wake up and say, this is wrong. An hour later, she replied with one line. Okay, that was it. No apology. No concern. No, I will handle it. No, I did not know. No, I am sorry. Just okay. A few minutes after that, Ophelia texted me from the unknown number again. You're trying to get me in trouble. I did not respond. Then another message. You think you're better than us? I stayed quiet. Then the last one. Enjoy your boring little day? I saved it. I added it to the folder of screenshots that was starting to feel like a file, not a phone gallery. The next week was a blur of ordinary life held together by vigilance, work, meetings, wedding details, sleep that did not feel like sleep. I kept expecting a new explosion. But once the passwords were in place and my workplace had blocked the email, Ophelia's options shrank. That is the thing about quiet boundaries. They do not give people a stage. They just remove the doors. The day before the wedding, I sat alone in the venue's bridal suite while my hair was pinned and sprayed into place. Outside, I could hear the band doing a sound check. The notes floated through the walls like a promise. My phone buzzed once. A text from Greer. No greeting, no warmth. I'm not coming. I stared at it for a long time. I could feel the old instinct to plead, to soothe, to fix. I could picture myself typing paragraphs, offering compromises, offering forgiveness, offering anything to keep her close. Instead, I wrote one line. I understand. I wish you peace. Then I put my phone face down and did not touch it again. The ceremony was everything I wanted. Candlelight, soft music, Griffin's hands shaking when he took mine, my mother crying in a way that did not feel performative, just real, friends hugging me like they were holding the edges of my life together. At the reception, I laughed so hard my cheeks hurt. I danced until my feet were sore. I ate cake without anyone calling it plastic. I breathed like I had been underwater for too long and finally surfaced. Ophelia did not appear. There was no scene, no shouting, no white dress marching down the aisle, no dramatic confrontation. For most of the night, I did not think about her at all. all. Then, near the end, when the lights were low and people were gathering their coats, the venue manager pulled me aside quietly. She said, "I didn't want to interrupt your night, but I think you should know this happened." My stomach dipped. What happened? She kept her voice calm, professional. A woman arrived during cocktail hour insisting she was allowed in. She said she was family. She tried to enter through the staff door. We asked for her name. She became hostile. Security escorted her off the property. My mouth went dry. Did she come inside? The manager shook her head. No, not even one step past the lobby. We handled it. I felt a strange mix of fear and relief. How did you know to stop her? The manager glanced toward the clipboard on her desk and said, "You sent us her photo when you set up the passwords." We took it seriously. I nodded slowly and my eyes stung. Not because Ophelia had tried to break in, because she had failed and I had not even needed to see it. I walked back into the ballroom. Griffin was waiting for me near the last table. Jacket off, tie loosened, smile soft in the golden light. He reached for my hand like it was the easiest thing in the world. And in that moment, I understood the final twist of it all. Ophelia did not ruin my wedding. She simply proved why she never deserved an invitation. I did not expose her. I did not scream. I did not beg. I just built a paper trail, locked the doors, and let her run straight into the truth. When we left the venue, snow had started falling in slow, quiet flakes. The air was cold enough to sting, clean enough to feel new. Griffin and I got into the car, and before he started the engine, he kissed my knuckles and said, "You did it. You protected us." I looked out at the dark parking lot, empty now, and felt the weight in my chest finally lift. For the first time in years, I did not manage someone else's chaos, and the silence tasted like freedom. Now I want to step out of the story for a second and just talk to you like a real person. Some people hear a boundary and they take it as an attack, not because you did something wrong, but because they were benefiting from your discomfort. They were living in a world where everyone tiptoes around them. And if you are the kind of person who keeps the peace, you can accidentally train people to disrespect you. I used to think staying calm meant staying quiet and swallowing things. But that is not calm. That is self-abandonment. Real calm is paperwork, screenshots, passcodes, clear sentences, short messages, no arguing, no chasing. It is choosing a clean line and letting the other person show what kind of character they have when they hit it. And the hardest part is grieving what you lose when you stop enabling. Because you might lose people you love. You might lose the version of the future you pictured. But sometimes that future was already gone. You were just the last one pretending. If you are in something like this, I'm not telling you to be cruel. I'm telling you to be clear. The right people will respect you. The wrong people will call it betrayal. And if they do, let them.